Bekostigbare gehalte teen R269,000, BTW uitgesluit, BSMV's geld. JAG.TV Financial, finansiering gebou vir jou. In our first conversation with Tebogo Mogashoa on his farm, Babirwa Game Ranch.
I was born out in the east of Johannesburg, Eguruleni, a township called Katlehong. So that hunt and the exposure to large tracts of land did indeed plant a seed in my head. The outdoors and nature continued to grow to the point when I could make the investment decision to acquire a game farm. I did acquire one here in the Waterberg. You know, my interest in the industry was also premised on long-term utilization and sustainable utilization, as it were. That, you know, in my selection of property, I looked for a property which could respond to all the 4 pillars of the wildlife ranching industry.
We continue our talk and hear how this businessman entered the wildlife industry.
You know, entering the game industry, naturally for me being a new environment, I felt the need to seek advice. Advice which was freely available from most of the established breeders. But the interesting thing is that if you ask most of the established breeders one question, you will get similar answers. It's a bit like wearing a watch. You know, if you ask the time from 5 different people, you'll get 5 different times, typically. But at the end of the day, you have to buy your own watch and look at your own time. So experience for me in game breeding has been something like that, you know, like the watch analogy. I decided to start farming with, at the time it was at the prime of the color variants. Started with a saddleback head and bred successfully with it. Bought from a very top, well-known saddleback breeder. That has done well for me. And then I got involved with golden wildebeest and as well as a sable, Zambian sable. But then I realized I needed to build a factory. You know, instead of buying into different species which are not sustainable, economical units. So therefore, my strategy then changed towards acquiring top genetics in right-sized economic units. Then I started investing in buffalo. I bought a good herd of 20 females and 1 good bull, and I did the same with roans, and I did the same with golden oryx. And that has worked well for me because in the end, you know, it's really about how you start with game breeding. If you buy the right genetics as well as the right quantities of animals, then you build a factory and not a zoo. So I've managed to then start these breeding programs that are doing very well. And I've taken a long-term view of establishing good pedigree with the breeding programs that we run here on Babirwa. I've received so much advice from many established breeders. However, I've also had to find my own way through managing my own breeding programs. And my experience has really been one. In one short story, it's management. You know, I've had to build good management in terms of having a good farm manager, whom we have here. Hannes Hasbrook does a very good job. He came highly recommended from another breeding farm, and he provides here, you know, oversight over all our animal husbandry, as well as field management, as well as, you know, all other auxiliary breeding functions. So for me, management has been the big thing that you need in order to run a successful breeding program. You know, we manage the records for all our breeding herds in terms of the intercalving periods, in terms of the administration of medication that we offer to the animals from time to time, and also establishing a good relationship with our resident vet. You know, David Snyman, he's exceptional. Whenever we need him, he's here, and he also adds to the quality of our herds in terms of assisting with proper veterinary advice as well as scientific advice. On the field management side, we do have an ecologist that comes and visits the farm on a quarterly basis to advise us on what interventions we need to make in order to maintain our natural environment in perfect working order.
When we continue our conversation with Tebogo.
I've had to employ some of my experience in business into my game breeding and farming enterprise. My view of the future of the wildlife industry is that demand stimulation is going to be more key and relevant. The wildlife industry is also about conservation. And conservation is about the people. Through the live game sales as well as the hunting that takes place on our properties is an opportunity to recycle those revenues into, community development.
Bekostigbare gehalte teen R269,000 BTW uitgesluit. BSMV's geld. John Deere Financial. Finansiering gebou vir jou.